Hey, hello, hello.
Hey, what's up, man? How you living?
Hey, pretty good. How you doing?
You're doing great. So happy to be here again. So
Yeah, well, do you want to introduce yourself to the chat and what we're talking about so everybody has a idea of who you are?
yeah, sure. My name's Connor. I run a small YouTube channel named Counterpoints. I'm a former Marine and a ex-cop. I was on once before, but we didn't talk about anything use of force related. And basically, I figured since the Rittenhouse shenanigans and all the drama surrounding that, and also just considering that you have a pretty big following that's also I don't know. There's a whole bunch of people who follow you who follow a whole bunch of other people that I felt
Mm-hmm.
like had some pretty rough takes that were bugging the shit out of me.
Sure. Can you, real
So
quick, are you able to turn up your microphone by 7,000%?
yeah, let me try. So I'm holding it closer to my face. I might also be able to go into the settings and I can change mics if you need me to.
Okay, go for it.
All right.
Or I might go for talking. This is okay. As long as you don't,
Okay.
if it starts to drift away from your face, though, then yeah,
I'll,
you're
I'll
really, really, really quiet. So, okay, go for it.
I'll try to deep throat it.
Okay.
Is this okay?
Well, or maybe we just turn the mic up then. Maybe that would be better.
I'm a little boomery, but on OBS or wait, not on OBS, on Discord I'm maxed out, and then I think my power supply is on, so I'm not sure what else I need to do. I'll just yell a little bit.
Okay, fuck it. All right. All right, well, what do you want to chat about? Okay, hit us up. You notice there's a
Yeah.
lot of crossover between people that watch me and other people, and yeah.
Yeah, and basically, like, I guess the main fucking beef I had was just not with you specifically, but just in general. It seemed like the use of force shit was kind of like, I don't know, dude. There were just some bad fucking memes floating around that I kind of wanted to address, and basically, like, you were talking about a lot about the Rittenhouse shooting and kind of like all that kind of shit. So specifically, just to I guess get into the first bad meme. The first fucking bad meme that like force has to be like proportional.
Proportional,
So
which is, yeah.
yeah, yeah, dude, that has to be the dumbest fucking thing that I've ever bumped into. So it's like if somebody's trying to fist fight you and you have a gun,
You have to fist fight them first, yeah.
yeah. You have to fucking you have to match them, and it's like, dude, that's not taking into account like old people who don't know how to fight. It's not taking into people who don't know how to fight. It's not taking into account women. It's not taking into account anything. So it's just one of the dumbest fucking memes I've ever goddamn seen. And then I guess the other portion of it was kind of like just talking about like from a law enforcement perspective, like we get trained. There's this also really fucking dumb meme of oh well, the military has stricter rules of engagement. Well, there's always this caveat because I was in the military. I deployed during counterinsurgency, so 2007 2008, which was probably like when we had our strictest rules of engagement. And I know what they're saying, where they're like, oh well, you had really strict rules about when you could engage and you couldn't really shoot people just because they had a gun. That's still true of cops in the United States. So cops in the United States can't just shoot you because you have a gun, especially in an open carry state. So that's identical. And then for the military use of force, there was always an addendum, basically with that addendum always saying that the threat of great bodily harm or death allowed you to intervene on behalf of yourself and of others. So that's identical to law enforcement. So there's just all these fucking bad memes floating around, and I didn't know if you want to kick the ball around, but I mean, I could just rant on your fucking stream for the next hour, but I don't think that'll be fun for everybody.
Yeah, I think the problem mainly when it comes to like accounting for like when you can shoot somebody, it feels like in the military, it feels like there's a bit more accountability. Not that the like when you're allowed to shoot is dramatically different, but just that it feels like in the military, if you fuck up, there's going to be a lot of accountability. Whereas for police force, everybody's kind of on the same team, like the DA, the judges, the police unions, the cops themselves, the superintendent.
Well,
Like,
so I guess I would ask, where is that perception stemming from? Because yeah, there's international incidents where you kill civilians, but at the same time, like, there's no judges or DA or anything like that overseas. So what is that?
I guess the assumption is just that like military tribunal and stuff, and the fact that like if you're in the military, you fuck up, you get like court-martialed and shit. I guess it feels like there's more accountability. I don't know if it's right or not. I'm just giving you the perception. And it's even a perception that I have. Yeah, it feels like there's more accountability. It feels to me that this is the feeling that I get just from military friends and just general understanding of the military. If you're out and you do something fucked up and horrible and you kill somebody, like you're gonna get shit canned for it. But if you're a cop and you do it, like everybody's kind of like trying on your side to like mitigate the damage as much as possible, do as much as they can to like alleviate like the negative effects. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe I can address that. And I don't know what the experience of your military friends are, but you know, I wasn't an infantryman, so I'm not trying to claim any experience that I didn't have. But I do have a lot of infantry friends. I do have a lot of grunt friends. I fucking love them to death. Some of the best dudes I've ever met in my entire life. And you know, they'll admit shit to me that, you know, they might not admit to everybody else. And that's kind of the fact that, you know, there's things called, you know, death blossoms where basically like, you know, you're during the invasion, there was some pretty hairy scenarios where everybody's mean mugging you. You know, somebody snipes in and hits one of your guys and you just kind of kill everything that's around you. There's no, you know, there's no tribunal for that. There's no, you know, state attorney. You're basically talking about war. So there's no coroner's office that's showing up to interview the shooting. There's no state attorney's office that's reviewing it from a legal standpoint. There's no, you know, like almost every single state inside the United States has a shooting team. So basically in the state of Florida where I live, it's the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. If you kill somebody, it's under review. Now, I think there's something to be said for the fact that all of these institutions kind of push in the same direction. And there's also a certain amount of like, I don't want to say leniency, but maybe that is the appropriate word, where it's just like, yeah, the system is rigged that if you can articulate threat of death or great bodily harm, then basically you're not, you know, you might not keep your job, but you're probably not going to jail. Well, dude, I mean, honestly, like if you want to poke that around, maybe that's a point of contention, like, or maybe not contention, but just explanation of, and I'm sorry, I have a dog. It's pretty much a tradition on any one of my streams that I have to let a dog into the room. So 1 second. Yeah. So basically, like, I mean, maybe that's a point of the contention. Like, I'm not somebody who thinks that law enforcement is perfect or even close to perfect. But I do think it's like, you know, it's largely made up of people who are trying to do the right thing. And it seems like there's this public perception or this assumption that cops need to be assumed to be, you know, basically as bad as the criminals they're pursuing because of malfeasance, corruption, bad shootings, all that kind of stuff. But actually, that brings us to a second meme. If you want to kick that around for a second.
Maybe. I mean, I guess, is there anything we actually disagree on, or?
Well, dude, this is like the problem with me talking to you, I guess, because we probably don't disagree on anything. But like, like, I'm probably a little bit to the right of you on guns. I'm probably more, you know, pro Constitution or some shit. But it's not anything that we couldn't resolve between two adults. But I think that's part of the problem with, like, I want to talk to you. You're a smart dude. But that's part of the problem is, like, you know, your format is, hey, pick apart something that I said that's dumb. We'll debate it back and forth, and chances are I'm gonna fucking, you know, destroy you. but most of the time, because most of your perspectives are rooted in some form of reality, it's harder to attack. But then that's where I also feel like I want to talk to you too, because we contend with some of the same public figures, and some of those public figures they're either fucking lying, or they're disingenuous, or they're putting up logic patterns that just don't match reality, and it's frustrating as fuck. So
yeah, I mean, I guess, well, fuck, I don't know. Normally the only reason I talk about disagreement is especially because I've gone over this so much. It feels like I'm going to be rehashing just like a bunch of stuff that I've said that I guess I've already said, unless you feel like there's like a new perspective or something that you can show on like a particular thing. You said that you were infantry. Did you say you were in the police force too, or no?
So I wasn't infantry, but I was in law enforcement for 4 years. Yeah.
You were in law enforcement for 4 years?
Yep. Sure
Why? I'm trying to think of. I don't really know what to say. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, fuck. Because usually I'd say like, because we can just talk for like 30 minutes about like, oh, isn't that crazy? And you're like, yeah, that's so dumb. And then isn't, and then like, but like that's it. That's why I normally start with like a disagreement. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me let me try to. Okay, then I'll just I'll forward a fucking. Well, goddamn. Then I have to fucking take devil's advocate on positions that I don't fucking believe in.
Well, no, but I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, what's the, what are we chatting about? Wait, why did you? Fuck. I thought initially. I think I remember your primary email. You gave your background and you said that you wanted to give your perspective on things. I thought that meant that you disagreed with me on some things. I'm sure I've said something you disagree with related to police or guns. You said that you're further to the right of me on some issue. What issues do you think you're to the right of me on?
Well, I don't know. So what's what's your perspective on assault weapons or firearms, or kind of where's the line on the Second Amendment? I know I've heard you say before that you don't believe that the Constitution is some like divine document passed on to us by supreme beings that we have to honor in every circumstance. But
Yeah, of course.
I mildly disagree with that, but
Sure. My perspective on guns is there's usually three prescriptions that I have when it comes to guns. The first one is I think the ATF should be able to have electronic records.
Okay.
Do you agree? Like right now they have to keep it all in paper.
Well, I can definitely kind of steelman the opposing thing, which the steelman of the opposing thing is historically, there would be no difference between the registration of firearms with the ATF or the 4473 forms if they were made electronic and searchable and all that kind of stuff. That's basically de facto registration, even if you don't call it registration.
Yeah, but right now we have kind of sort of registration just in a really weird roundabout way that just makes the whole crime tracking process like incredibly inefficient.
Yeah, and almost purposefully so. That like okay, so hey, here we go. So it's almost purposefully inefficient, but the purposefully inefficient portion of that is basically so firearms aren't registered, so private citizens can keep guns. And I know this is very constitutional conservative of me, but that's kind of where I think it's all about balance of power. That's kind of the root issue of why I think we're allowed to have any firearms whatsoever. Is
well, yeah, but like if the government wanted to find your 4473, they could find it, right? They just take them a little bit longer. It just seems like you're literally just making it slower for law enforcement, but you're not It seems like you're doing the worst of both worlds. Like in one end, there's a paper registration where the government could go in and find any firearm I've bought, and two, if law enforcement needs access to records, it's just going to slow down an investigation. So you have like literally the worst of both worlds is what it feels like. Like I can understand if somebody's like no paper records, period. Then it's like okay, but when you're like you can have paper records but no metadata, no computer archiving, it's like okay, well, it just seems like you.
What the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
Well, and that even brings up something if you were to make them electronic, because the 4473 and the private, they talk about closing the gun show.
Yeah, that's gonna be my second one.
Is
That should be closed. Yeah.
Oh no, it's okay. Hey, we can get.
Yeah, tell me why. If I sell a gun to somebody, should we have to fill out one of those ATF form 4473s? Why not? I don't understand why not.
Largely because the government can track all of the serial numbers of all the firearms that are in the United States, and it's not really like it. I know what you're gonna say, that it's their business, but I just don't see, dude. I'm gonna slippery slope this shit all fucking day because so can I let me just give you like my broad arguments rather than like I'll give you broad arguments. We can nail down the smaller parts.
Okay.
This was actually like one of the things that really pissed me off because I debated Mike from PA.
Big mistake.
And he basically just fucking smashed me. Yeah. Oh, dude, it was fucking brutal. So his argument was like, oh well, law enforcement are pieces of shit. We can't even compete with the Europeans when it comes to killing Americans on a year-to-year basis. They've only killed like 100 people since 2000. We've killed 1,000 people every year for the past 20 years. Blah blah blah. So totally true, absolutely true. No counter argument to that. However, the reason why we have firearms in the first place is basically to avoid a larger evil. And we could definitely get into this point, I'm sure, pretty quickly. But it's all about balance of power between the civilian population and the government at large. So the reason why I have an AR-15 is not because me personally, Joe Blow on the block with an AR-15 is going to stand up to a tyrannical government. But
yeah, okay, wait, real quick, so I can get ahead of you because I agree with all this. Okay, well-armed population can keep the government in check theoretically from hostile takeover of government forces. Obviously, guerrilla warfare is really hard. Urban warfare with 1 million armed citizens is impossible for the government to win. I agree with you on that. My question though is, does the government having an electronic registration of our firearms somehow make them like so much more capable of destroying our civilization in ways that they don't already have that capability? And is that like worth the potential trade-off of like having an easier registration to track firearm sales through? Because it seems to me that the problem is that there's a few things that kind of diffuse that argument. Is it one, There's pretty extensive surveillance that goes on by the state right now. It wouldn't surprise me if there were some forms of firearm tracking that are in databases by like the NSA or the CIA that is like not, or the FBI even, that like aren't necessarily kosher. That wouldn't surprise me 1,000,000%. And if they don't have those databases, I'm sure they have ways to get that information through investigation. So that's one. And then two, there might be like a big utility in terms of forcing people to fill out the 4473s whenever they do private sales. Like there might be utility there that it discourages some purchasing of firearms that are used for nefarious purposes, or it makes some firearms easier to track in the case of investigations. And so if there's some utility there in terms of making it so they do have to track the sales, and if we're not really losing much, because chances are if the FBI wants to know if you have a gun, they probably have a way of finding it out anyway. It just seems like a no-brainer. Like why do that trade-off, I guess? Or why not go for that trade-off?
Yeah, it's the same thing with like the Patriot Act. So just to kind of bring it to what I feel is a proper analogy, it's like why do we have the courts to slow down terrorism investigators? Why do we have why do we have driver's license registrations that aren't federal? Why do we have people in our country who don't have social securities? We should just issue social security numbers or national identification numbers to non-citizens. That way we can track them, and we should make that all a publicly accessible database. That way the NSA and the CIA can track private citizens, because I mean,
wait, real quick.
To do it anyways.
So we can walk through those one at a time. What was the very first one? Why do we have courts to slow down like terrorist things?
Yeah. So
what's the alternative? You should have some justification in a terrorist investigation that you should have to go to a judge and get a warrant. What's the alternative? That we don't need warrants any longer? Like you have to provide justification to get a warrant. I think that's okay.
Did I lose you?
Wait, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think I lost you for a second. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, and I mean, so if you were so if you wanted to alleviate my fear and the fear of a lot of right-wing gun nuts, I guess, in the United States, in order to like, so if you were like, hey, we need to be able to criminally prosecute people who misuse guns. In order to do that, we need to be able to have this database in order to research stuff. I think there's a utilitarian argument against it, but we can get back to that in a second. So basically, we need this database. You would basically have to enshrine in law some kind of like formal line for what kind of firearms are acceptable within our society and what aren't, because it's very clear that liberals and progressives, and I'm not talking about leftists, but liberals and progressives have this line in their mind where you can throw all sorts of fucking dipshit memes at me that I absolutely loathe, that we probably both agree with. You can only hunt ducks with 3 shotgun rounds, so ducks have more protection than American children. That one makes me want to blow my fucking brains out in Minecraft. Basically I could go down the list of all these stupid fucking memes, but there's plenty of people who basically don't believe in the right to defend yourself against a tyrannical government, and 2, they don't believe that it's logistically possible for a bunch of, for 70 million privately armed citizens to resist the American military. I can go through that like individually on why both of those points are fucking dumb as shit.
So real quick, I don't disagree with any of this. Okay, so I think that when it comes to guns, liberals and even lefties that pretend they like guns are usually stupid as shit. I'm not going to disagree on any of that. I'm opposed to like magazine limit restrictions. I'm opposed to the horrible cuck shit we have in California that gets rid of pistol triggers or whatever, or on like rifles. I don't know why these stupid rules exist, but I'm not talking about any of that. Okay, I oppose all of that dumb, meaningless shit. However, electronic records for the ATF, 4473s filled out for all sales, not just sales at companies. I don't see why that's a big deal. Just to have like a database for that. Like, yeah, that's all I'm talking about. I understand there are a ton of other dumb things people talk about. I don't care about fucking bump stocks or any of that shit. I don't care about any of that. I'm just looking at these two particular things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why it's a big deal. So until you have the clear line about what individual private citizens are able to own, it feels like what individual private citizens are going to be owned, it is on a slippery slope. And every single time that there's a gun crime or a terrorist attack or anything like that, basically, what you're capable of owning is completely negotiable. So until you have this like firm codified thing about what a private citizen can and can't own, then it just feels like de facto registration, electronically databasing all the 4473s, making it a searchable database by law enforcement. All it does is it basically makes a de facto registration for confiscation. And I mean, this, you could probably tear this meme apart, but basically the meme that gets passed around in right wing gun circles is registration has always historically led to confiscation. And even Joe Biden, who's supposed to be the fucking centrist lib that Republicans can get behind, even he basically wants to take AR-15s, AKs, anything that can be put as an assault weapon, and he wants to have those like
Yeah. Okay. I understand. So my question is assuming we didn't have crazy people in charge that wanted to like take all your guns, ideologically, would you be opposed? Let's say that 100% of the country were Republican conservatives. None of them wanted to take your guns. But they were like, oh, hey, we should be able to track sales because if somebody commits a crime with a gun, we want to be able to look that shit up real quick. And we don't want anybody selling a gun and us not being able to track who it goes to. Would you be okay in that case with like private sales have to fill out the 4473s and the ATF have the electronic records?
Sure, but let me take it in a different direction while still giving that concession. Okay.
Sure.
So yeah, everybody in the fucking world is down with AR-15s. We all think we can, overthrow the government. As a matter of fact, we adopt like the Swiss model where everybody gets like 13 weeks of training on their 18th birthday as long as they're of sound mind and sound body, and then we issue them a 308 FAL that they can keep under their bed. That's fucking based. That's fucking awesome. Let's do it. There's also this utilitarian argument that basically firearms slow down homicide and robbery investigations and all that kind of shit. And the truth is that like, firearms and the forensics involved with like firearms when it comes to robbery, murder, theft, whatever you want to talk about when it comes to violent crime. Robberies are just one forensic piece of the pie. And often what it comes down to is people. So when you're talking about, there's this utilitarian argument that you're fighting for that I've already conceded, where, in this ideal world in which we don't have to give up our guns, we should have them electronically registered for law enforcement. But, figuring out, what gun was used and like who owned that gun is one very small piece of the puzzle. And if you were talking about like American crime and American society, sorry to pivot, but American crime and American society, what's actually kind of breaking down our society right now is a distrust between law enforcement and the community. When people get shot, when people get killed, when people get robbed, people don't have faith in the justice system, and they also don't have faith in their law enforcement to actually be able to prosecute crime. And that, I would say, is like a more utilitarian area to focus as far as like improving the day-to-day life of Americans.
Sure. I mean, I don't disagree that would be a good place to focus. I mean, we can focus on more than one thing at one time, right? Government's got a lot of moving pieces. Yeah,
no, bro, I have autism, and we can only argue about the one thing that I want to argue about, and
okay.
I can't concede any points because I'm an asshole.
Sure.
So,
all right.
No.
I think I think we probably ideologically agree on these. There's always a third thing I list too. So private sales should probably be tracked. I think if we're going to track any sales, we might as well track private sales as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Then if I'm willing to concede to you to the points that I've made, can you concede the points that I've kind of made where people would be paranoid about the slippery slope of like ever increasing gun restrictions that basically have nothing to do with the security of the public and just have like this vested public interest in making people feel better because they have a symbolic chipping away of gun rights every time there's a mass shooting or a terrorist attack.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Part of it?
Sure, I can understand
that. Even if you don't agree with it, you can understand it. Right?
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, Hillary literally was essentially talking about banning firearms in the United States. Is what it sounded like. Holding gun manufacturers liable for homicide seemed insane.
Dude, yeah.
So sorry, I mean, like, I can understand that. I'm just not interested in defending those positions. Obviously, those are extreme. I don't agree with a lot of the Democratic Party's policies on guns. But yeah, okay. And then the third one, I think, so it's private sale tracking, ATF electronic records, and then it's usually some form of like Psych eval to own a firearm. I don't think is the worst thing in the world as well.
No, I actually, so kind of to bring it to interesting ideas, worthy of kicking around or whatever. So, psych eval, fitness eval for firearms ownership. I mean, we do that shit all the time. And also, like, if you were talking about,
wait, what do you mean we do that shit all the time?
okay, I'm not saying we do that shit now in America. Now
Mhm.
in America, you walk into a gun store, you pass a background check, they hand you, an AR-15.
Uh-huh.
What I'm saying is that like we make evaluative judgments about the fitness of people to wield certain public products that pose a public danger,
Mhm.
and we make like judgments about fitness all the time. So if you were to go back and you were to talk to the founders, who I think I deify a little bit more than you, and you were like, "Hey, bros, do you think that we should issue like military grade weaponry to people who have like mental disabilities, who are or who are like insane?" And of course, their answer is going to be no. So that's where I feel like the right, when it comes to guns, or at least the gun nut side of the right,
Uh-huh.
they've lost the plot a little bit, where it's like, bro, like there are reasonable restrictions that we can come up with, that just because you're denying a schizophrenic the right to own an AR-15 doesn't mean that the Second Amendment has been completely violated.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
We probably don't necessarily disagree on that then. A lot of states require licenses to get a firearm, right? Am I making that up?
yeah, like okay, but that's mostly like commie states. So like
Wait, I
plenty.
could be wrong, but I'm from Nebraska. I'm
Mhm.
99% sure that I had to apply for a firearm license that I had to show in order to purchase a pistol and a rifle.
Well, I mean that would be interesting to me. Was it like a hunter's course or something like that, or
No, I thought you just
like,
needed to get like it's on a shitty piece of paper. Wait,
dude,
Nebraska. Do you need
Florida, nobody
license
gives a fuck.
to own a gun? Maybe it's not in every state.
we're,
Nebraska to
we're
purchase a handgun.
definitely.
A permit is to purchase. Oh yeah, you need a permit to purchase in order to get a handgun.
Yeah.
Oh, that was from my Glock. Oh.
Dude, I'm pretty sure Texas and Florida definitely give no fucks. So like they'll sell you whatever you want as long as you pass the federal background check. They don't give a shit.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Florida does
So,
not
but
require a permit or license to buy a gun, nor does the state require registration for guns. Oh, okay, gotcha.
well, and kind of to just push on the utilitarian argument, a little.
Mm-hmm.
I think the average American, or like I think the average American homicide rate, if you're not including the past year, is like 5 per 100,000. I think in the black community, it's roughly like 22 per 100,000. So when you're talking about like making utilitarian arguments about, and I'm pretty sure in like Hispanic, it's like 3 or 4 per 100,000, and in white society, it's like 2 or 3 per 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So the point being that there's clearly like socioeconomic factors that go on. There's cultural factors that go on. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
systemic racism is an issue, and basically like we could probably have the American homicide rate
Mm-hmm.
just by addressing socioeconomic issues. Not even talking about any kind of firearms restrictions.
Sure, probably, yeah. Yeah, considering the vast majority of shootings are handgun related, and the vast majority of those handgun related shootings, especially once you wipe out the suicide shit or like gang related violence, that's not surprising. Yeah. There's another reason why I don't usually get that uppity about like gun shit. I think it's very sensational, but the overall scheme of things, I don't know if it's that much of a big deal.
Well, and I guess that's kind of the other thing. So we were talking about like independent justice, holding cops accountable, all that kind of shit earlier. This was something that I think. I guess my frustration is I try to play like the enlightened centrist all the time on my YouTube channel. It's fun,
Mm-hmm.
but you catch a fuckload of shit from the far right, and you catch a fuckload of shit from the far left, and it's always hard to have to be fighting everybody all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that I think Vosh kind of brought up, that he tripped on his dick, but it's almost like a borderline genius idea, is the like he brought up like the military has independent tribunals. They have the uniform code of military justice. I was like, holy fuck, that is genius. Like the uniform code of law enforcement justice. Like what a good fucking meme. Where half the time the reason why, like, so if you're talking about like the courts are stacked in law enforcement's favor, that way they're not held accountable. At least one of the reasons why I think that exists is because basically if like a cop kills somebody, manslaughter, murder, doesn't really matter, or if they lie on an affidavit, basically like sending a cop to jail or prison is a threat against their life. So a lot of the time they're basically treated on par with like child molesters when it comes to like being incarcerated. So when it comes to like throwing people away,
Mm-hmm.
throwing people in jail cells, courts are going to be a lot less likely to throw a cop in jail for lying or planting drugs or whatever if they know that that incarceration is not a death sentence, but nearly a death sentence. So if you had an independent judiciary, if you had an independent prison system, independent jail system, I mean, talk about good fucking memes, man. Not only could you make the punishments match the crime, but you would basically avoid this like I don't know, like assistant state attorneys and state investigators pulling their punches because they don't want to piss cops off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
sorry, bro. It's not my fault. You're fucking reasonable. If you wanted me to be an unreasonable fucking dickhead.
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
I can try to find something I'm more unreasonable about.
Fuck. I don't know if. I just don't know if we disagree on anything, so I don't really know what else to talk about.
All right.
If you.
Well, let me give you some parasocial love then. Okay.
Sure. Okay, go for it.
Not every conversation needs to be an argument, and not every not everybody out here is out here to score points on you. Although, interestingly enough, before we talked last time or whatever, I was kind of thinking like what thing can I fucking argue with Destiny over? What thing can I fucking dunk on? And then I kind of realized like that, dude, that's like a fucked up way to think anyways. And like, I mean, obviously like that's what you make your bread and butter off of. And I'm not hating on that, but, like you're kind of wondering why like people are always swinging at you, coming at you on Twitter, coming at you on Discord, coming at you on this or that or the other. It's because of that format. Where in order to talk to you, they have to have a bone to pick, and they have to have something egregious to fucking talk shit to you about, So, I know that's great for metrics, but that's just not my style, I guess. So.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, every disagreement doesn't necessarily have to be like blood sports too. Like I can talk with some people, disagree with them, and it's okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you really, I don't know, man. If you really just want to find shit that we with, I mean, I guess like. Polyamory or the nuclear family or something like that, and we could probably throw some bows on that.
Sure. I mean, if you want to, do you want in the future if you ever find like a thing? I guess if I say you disagree with it or whatever, you can always hit me up and we can fight about it. It doesn't have to be like a brutal fight.
Sure. No, dude, okay, so it's just I find personalities that I like and that I think are funny and smart and weird and all that kind of stuff on these platforms, and that I try to bullshit with them whenever I can. So that's what's going on. So if you feel like I'm not properly following the format of your channel, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, no problem. It's all good. All right, well, hey, listen, man. If a take ever comes up or anything, or if you ever feel like you've got like a contribution, or if you feel like I missed something or whatever, yeah, you can always like reach out, message me, or shoot me a message on Discord and hop on and chat.
So, you hear me okay?
Oh, wait, I heard you say so,
you hear me right?
And then what? What's up? Hello, hello?
Can you hear me right? Yeah, I'm losing you right now, but can you hear me a little bit?
I could hear you now.
Okay, all right. So just picking up on the social cue a little bit. Next time you want me to come with something a little bit more contentious that we actually disagree on.
Oh yeah, I guess basically I'm just in terms of like what I do typically on stream is that like if somebody messages me, we agree on everything. It's usually just like, oh, do you agree on this thing? It's like, yeah, isn't that crazy? And they're like, yeah, for sure. And it's like, yeah, what about that? And you're like, yeah, for sure. And then it's like there's just not usually much of like a conversation to be had, I guess, if we're on the same page about everything, you know?
All right, brother. Well, yeah, if you want to dip, then that's cool. And then also, if you ever just want to have maybe a less contentious conversation, but then poke around some interesting ideas, you let me know. I would love to have something maybe a little bit less. Not that this was combative or fucking anything, but dude, it's like there's only so many people to fucking talk to. There's only so many people to fucking fight about shit or whatever. And sometimes you just want to talk to a smart motherfucker about smart shit. So if you ever feel like doing that, then I'm down for that. Too.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate the combo. Just poke me whenever you got something you want to bite to the death over, all right? Okay.
Sounds good, buddy.
I love you, buddy. Have fun. Peace out. Bye. Wait!
Well, yep.
Hold on. We might have one thing to fight over. How do you feel about the term less lethal versus non-lethal?
Less lethal's fine. Non-lethal is kind of like that's a fucking bad meme, man. Like you can fucking. So, for instance, kind of as a story, quick story, basically like there are people who have been hurt or killed by tasers. There's been people who have had allergic reactions to pepper spray. So less lethal might feel a little bit politically correct, but it's accurate. So people saying fucking non-lethal, it's just not accurate at all. And cops. So again, we're just gonna agree on shit, but I hope that just means that we're both smart and we think about what the fuck we're talking about. Cops need to stop being so reliant on their belts. Every single time somebody talks shit to you doesn't mean that they need to be pepper sprayed. Every single time somebody talks shit to you or bows up on you doesn't mean they need to be tased. And there's a whole bunch of things that can go wrong once you start reaching for shit on your belt.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay. My position is I feel like the term less lethal is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life.
Okay.
My issue with it is that it feels to me like you have lethal weapons, and then you have weapons that aren't meant to kill people, but like disable people. So you have like non-lethal weapons. If you want to call non-lethal weapons less than lethal weapons or less lethal weapons because there's a very small chance they'll kill somebody, then it feels like literally every single weapon in the history of all of mankind is a less than lethal weapon. Like a baton would become a less than lethal weapon. Your fists are less than lethal, but it's like that like it just feels like such a strange thing to like mince words over. Like I can shoot you with a gun with the bullet that's designed to pierce your skin and cause organ damage, or I can shoot you with the beanbag. I could kill you with the beanbag. It's incredibly unlikely, but it's possible. But it's like I have a lethal option and a non-lethal option. If I'm really unlikely, the non-lethal option might kill you. But like less than lethal implies that every single thing in the history of the universe that's called non-lethal should be called less than lethal, which seems like kind of silly to me. But that's my only point of view. I guess.
Well, I'll let me hide the ball on you a little bit even.
Sure.
So there's this whole thing where so it used to be called use of force, which I think is a completely accurate name for what law enforcement does on a day-to-day basis. When you're not complying, when we're trying to take you to jail, when you're basically risking ourselves or you by instigating a confrontation, we use force to gain compliance.
Yeah.
But because there's been so many bad shootings, bad taserings, bad sprays, bad fights, all that kind of stuff. The state of Florida is now moving to the politically correct term response to resistance, which is obviously accurate, but what a pussy way to fucking phrase what cops do on a day-to-day basis. And
Sure.
it's the same thing where less lethal is technically accurate, and I hate to give such an unsatisfactory answer, but you have to think about it in terms of what do you call it? Liability, responsibility. So if you say, oh, it's less lethal, but then you shoot a taser at somebody and it takes their eyeball out, and they're like, hey, what the fuck? I thought it was non-lethal. You didn't kill him, but you ripped his eyeball out. Then you kind of have to be able to explain that from a legal standpoint. And obviously, a lot of what is, I don't want to say what's wrong with our society, but a lot of what guides our very soft and sensitive language is litigiousness. So I'm sorry if that's unsatisfactory, but it is accurate.
Yeah. Okay. But all right. Okay. I love you, buddy.
All right.
If you can think of anything else, hit me up. We can fight.
All right. Be easy, brother.
All right. Have fun. Peace out.
Fucking competitive game that's ever been released on Twitch. Like, holy shit. Like you're literally, your avatar is a fucking Teletubby and you're getting this mad.